Hi, welcome to live stream Yoga with Louise, tips and cues to keep you safe and strong on the mat. Today we are in sleuth mode, moving with creative ingenuity, playing under the radar, but just as deadly. As always, play where you're comfortable, modify when you need to, take a rest when you need to. You ready? Let's hit the mat. We're going to begin today's practice coming into a tall staff seat at the top end of the mat. In a moment, we are going to bring it into some roll downs. So if you'd like to place any padding on the mat behind you to support your form, please do so now. Find a nice tall staff seat, feet more or less hip width distance apart. Make sure that you're sitting up nice and tall, shoulders stacking over your hips. We're going to float the hands overhead, tapping the thumb and the index finger together. On an exhale, we're going to bend the elbows and come down in a cactus frame. You're going to rinse and repeat. Bringing the hands overhead to tap and then pressing down with active elbows, stopping with your elbows at about shoulder height. Maintaining that tall seat throughout as we play with the arms. Let's do 4, 2, we're going to end in that cactus bend and you're going to focus on the 2 shoulder blades. Squeeze them together behind and then float the elbows back to the start position. So pretending that you've got a little walnut between the 2 shoulder blades and you're squeezing with the 2 shoulders to crack that walnut. Let's do 5, 3, end with your elbows back at neutral. Give me an L drop and back. L drop and back. Let's call that 7, 5, 3, end in the L drop and then swing the arms forward and back to your L frame, pressing those elbows back against an imaginary wall. Let's call that 8, 6, 4, 2. We're going to end in the swimming motion and preferably keep the arms there. So you've got the 2 thumbs and the index fingers touching. If this becomes too much, you can drop your hands and place them on the mat. We're going to soften our leg line and we're going to come to some single leg lifts. Hold. Then give the legs a little shake up. Let's rinse and repeat on the second side. Single leg lifts for 10. Hold the last one. Shake the legs up. Bend the knees, ground the feet. We're coming into some roll downs and we'll do the first set with a bent leg line, checking that your feet are not too close to the body line. Easier to stabilize when there's a little bit of distance between the bum and the heels. We're going to begin with the arms extended out in front. Take a big breath into prep. On the exhale, nod your chin to your chest, hollow out your belly, round out your back, peel down to the mat, stopping with the hands stacking over the shoulders. Then inhale, halfway lift, exhale for the rest of your roll up. Let's do 5 nice controlled roll down and roll up motions. Making sure that you're working with awareness. Finding your breath connection, moving with it. After your last bent roll up, you're going to flip over to one side, propping yourself down on the elbow. We're going to stack the legs, either knees in front of the hip line, or you can bring the legs back so that your hips and your knees are almost in a straight line. We're going to keep the top arm relaxed to our thigh or placed on the hip crease. We're going to lift the bottom hip off the floor and we're going to hold for a slow count of 10. Stay here for a further slow count of 10 or give me 5 slow hip dips, tapping to the mat and coming back up. Flip over to repeat the exercise on the second side. Finding your bent side plank frame, lifting your hip off the floor and holding for a count of 10. Add 5 slow hip dips. Find your way from here back to a tall staff seat, legs extended out in front of you in parallel. 5 roll downs from a braced parallel line. Big breath into prep. Exhale to nod your chin to your chest, roll it down. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to press through your feet and reach through your fingertips. Shooting for 5 or 6 controlled roll downs. Then flipping over onto the side, coming back into our elbow side plank, we're going to bend the bottom leg, extend the top. We're going to do a hip lift and hold for 10. Stay or play. Add some hip dips. Shoot for roughly 5. Flip over onto your second side. Bottom leg bent, top leg extended. You're going to lift and hold for 10. Then let's dip and come back. Find your way back to a tall staff seat, and this time we're going to squeeze the legs together for the roll down, but we're going to assume a soft reaching toe line. Roll it down and then back up. Keeping that squeeze along the midline active throughout and remembering to look in for both the roll down and the roll up. Shoot for roughly 5 or 6 roll down patterns before we're going to find our way back into our elbow side plank. And this time we are looking for a stacked leg line. So either one leg stacked on top of the other, or you can take the top leg and drop it to the mat in front of the bottom leg. Look for a hip lift and hold. And then add some dips. This time we're shooting for 10. Find your way onto the second side of the body to repeat exactly the same exercise. Give yourself a moment just to situate yourself on the mat. Find your hip lift and hold for 10. Then add your dips. From here, we're going to find our way onto the back. And we're going to get creative with some chest lifts. We're going to start. Let's do hands stacked one over the other. You can decide which hand is on top. And you're going to just relax your elbow points to the mat. Knees are bent, soles of the feet are connected to the mat, and you're opening up your legs a little bit wider so that we can do a little reach through with the hands as we come into the chest lift. Begin in neutral. Find a 12 o'clock tilt and imprint. Lean up into the chest lift and reach through at about mid-thigh height. Then float back down to your start position. 10, slow and controlled. Last one. Then relax the arms alongside the body. We're going to articulate up into a bridge, hold it, and play. Find an echo of a 12 o'clock tilt to begin curling your tailbone in and disengaging your back line from the mat, floating your hips and your belly up to the sky. Set the height of your bridge and then focus on your knees. Start with your knees parallel to one another. So let's say hip width distance apart. You're going to pretend that you've got a soft ball between the two knees. Let's make it a soft soccer ball. You're going to squeeze gently into the ball and back to parallel. So you're not opening up your knees wider than hip width distance apart. You're just squeezing into the midline and coming back. Let's call that 5, 3. Last one, we're going to bring it into some hip dips. You're going to dip low on the right, come back to neutral, dip low on the left, come back to neutral. Keep playing with that side to side tilt, turning into the trunk, firing up those obliques. Let's call that 7. 5. 3. 1. Bleed your way back down to the mat. We're coming into the chest lifts with that little reach through, and we will add to our previous exercise. This time stacking the opposite hand on top. We're going to begin in neutral. Find a 12 o'clock tilt and imprint. As you bleed up into the chest lift and reach through at about mid-thigh, float up a little bit higher, and then bleed your way back down. So you're finding your first lift at about mid-thigh, and then floating up into a deeper scoop at about knee height to bleed back down. Five more to go. Last one. Then we're coming into the same bridge work that we played with in the previous round. Relax your arms alongside the body when you're ready. Articulate up into your bridge with control. Find your knee squeeze into the ball 10 times. Then add your hip dips side to side. Halfway, we've got 5 more sets to go. As you complete your last one, bleed back down to the mat. Coming back into our chest lift. This time we're shooting for a high reach through. We're going to find the height, hold it, and then we're going to play side to side, firing through the obliques. Stack one palm on top of the other. Begin in neutral. Find your 12 o'clock tilt and imprint. Bleed up into a high chest lift. Lock that height in, so you're at about knee height, sorry. And you're going to float side to side, just skimming the top of your knees for 10 successive repeats. Let's call that 7. Last one. Coming back into our bridge work one last time before we flip over onto the side of the body. Articulate up into your bridge when you're ready. And then begin to find your knee squeezes for 10. Then hip dips for 10. As you complete your last set, peel back down to the mat, give yourself a recovery break or 2, and then when you're ready, roll over onto your side, setting yourself up more or less in the middle of the mat. We are going to assume a low to the mat position, and we are going to try to find a turnout position on the legs. So your body is either stacked in one long line, or you can bring your feet just in front of the hip line. Your bottom arm could be a long pillow, it could be a bent pillow, or you could give yourself a small prop so that you're turning more into the waistline. We're going to try to find a slight turnout position on the leg. So think heels together, toes wanting to peel away from each other. We're going to keep the turnout position and we're going to do a kick towards the nose with a double pulse 10 times. Last one, we're going to step up the top leg, grounding the foot. We're going to focus on the bottom leg. We're going to do a lift with a soft reaching toe, and as we come back down, we're going to brace into the heel. So lift and reach, ground and brace, toeing and heeling out as we play with the lifting and lowering motion through the bottom leg. Let's call that 5, 3. We're going to end in the lift, And we're going to begin to circle clockwise with that bottom big toe. Let's call that 7, 5, 3, last one. Find your turnout position on the legs again. Keep the turnout position as you do a double kick towards the sky and back. Keep the turnout position throughout. Last one. Find your step-up position on the top leg. You're going to find your lift and your lower with a toe and a brace into the foot. We're at 8, 6, 4, 2, end in the lift and start to trace an anti-clockwise circle with your big toe, tracing the circumference of a ball that is maybe just a tiny bit bigger than a golf ball. Let's call that 6, 4, 2, last one. Roll over onto your belly, keeping your legs in a soft, relaxed parallel line. So we're going to be soft from the belly button down, and we are going to focus on the legs. We are going to stack the hands one on top of the other, relaxing not your chin but your forehead on the back of your hands so that your neckline stays in neutral. We're going to come into some single leg lifts on the right. So we're going to play right leg first for the next 3 movements before we switch to the left. Keeping the right leg long and reaching, we're going to do a small lift and a lower back down to the mat, focusing on not driving from the foot, but moving from the knee up along the quad, along the belly, along the hamstring, along the glutes. Let's do 5, 3. Now we're going to change the movement and you're going to give me a rapid fire bend and flick of your heel towards your bum 10 times. Take a look for the next movement before we do it together. We're going to combine those 2 movement patterns together. You're going to give me one single lift. You're going to reground to bend and flick. We're going to rinse and repeat 10 times. Find your rhythm. Lift to flick. Lift to flick. Let's call that 8. 4. 'Last one. Change legs. Single leg lifts on the left for 10. Now a rapid fire flick of heel to bum for 10. Now combine the 2 movements. 1 lift, 1 flick. Once you've done 10 on either side, you're going to start to squeeze your elbows in towards the center line, and you're going to set up a cactus-like frame, mimicking what we did right in the beginning of the class when we were playing in a staff frame. So we're going to find a cactus frame through the arms, elbows, palms, and forehead connected to the mat. We're coming into a modified cobra chest lift. You're going to give me a soft press into the tops of your feet, into your palms and your elbows. You're going to find an imaginary ball underneath your nose. You're going to roll that ball away with the tip of your nose, feeding up into a small cobra chest lift. Pause here and press your palms and your elbows into the floor, pressing actively into the tops of your feet and holding for a slow count of 10. Then peel back down to the mat. Take a recovery breath or two. We're coming back into our cobra line, but this time we're going to float and then swim with the arms. This time, as you begin to peel up into the chest lift, you're going to float the arms off the floor. And we're stopping with 1, 2, or 3 ribs still connected to the floor. We're going to swing the arms over here to tap the thumb and index finger, and then squeeze the elbows back to start. Shooting for as close to 10 repetitions, 10 swimming-like motions. Then peel back down. Stack your arms one on top of the other. We're going to repeat our lifts and our flicks, but this time we are going to move the legs as one unit. So coming into 10 double leg lifts first. Keeping our legs long and reaching, driving not from the foot, but using the whole powerhouse. Let's call that 7, 5, 3. Now we come into 10 bump flicks, moving both legs as one unit. Now combine the two movements, one lift, one flick. Once you've done 10, you're going to begin squeezing the elbows in towards the rib cage so that you can place your palms on the floor alongside your bosom. You're going to press back into a little extended child stretch. Think bum to heel. Just take a little stretch here. And then maybe ease your way into a down dog stretch. Holding for a slow count of 10. Before finding your way back into child. Then sitting up bum to heel. Slipping off your bum, taking a seat on the mat, extending the legs out in front, and then flipping over onto the side of your body so that we can repeat our side work. Assuming a low to the mat position, pick the bottom arm position that speaks to you. We're going to assume a turnout position on the legs with a double kick towards your nose for 10. Once you've done 10, We're going to do a step up on the top leg. We're going to lift to toe, drop to brace 10 times. Let's call that 5, 3. We're going to end in the lift and the reach. Use your big toe to trace a clockwise circle. Keep moving in the same direction. Let's call that 7. 2. Last one, find your turnout position. Try to keep the legs in a turnout position throughout as we do a double kick towards the sky and back. Then find your step up position on the top leg. Lift with a toe, soft, and brace as you come down. Let's call that 8. 6. 4. 2. End in the lift and reach and trace an anti-clockwise circle for 10 this time. Let's call that 8. 6. 4. 3. As you complete the last one, roll over onto your belly. Stack your arms one on top of the other. Single leg lifts on the left. Then 10 bum flicks. Then combine the two together. One lift, one flick. Once you've done 10, change sides and find 10 single leg lifts on the right. Transition into 10 flicks. Then combine the two together. One lift, one flick. Once you've done 10, find your way into a cactus cobra setup. Press into the tops of your feet, press into your palms and your elbows as you bleed up into a chest lift and hold for 10. Peel back down, give yourself a recovery breath. We're coming into a swimming cobra next. Bleed up into your chest lift, and this time float your arms. Start to find an overhead tap and then a swim back to your start position, shooting for roughly 10 repetitions. Small chest lift with 1, 2, or 3 ribs still connected to the mat. Float back down to the mat. Squeeze up. Stack your arms one on top of the other. We're going to combine the leg movements. So 10 double leg lifts first. Looking for a long reaching toe line. Focusing on extension, not height. Then 10 double bump flicks. Then combine the two, one leg lift, one flick. Once you've done 10, find your way into an extended child push back stretch with a nice extended arm line. Then find a plank or a down dog stretch, trying to anchor through your heels as best you can. Back to child. Take that nice delicious stretch through the arms. Press that bum to heel. Back to down dog, stretching legs, stretching arms, stretching the line of your spine and trying to anchor the heels of both feet as best you can so that you're getting quite an intense stretch up the back chain of your legs. Then begin to walk your hands back towards your legs, coming into a forward fold with either both hands on the floor, or you could place your hands higher up along the chain of your legs, depending on how released you're feeling through the legs. Hold for a slow count of 10. Check that your feet are in parallel, stacking directly underneath your hips. Then look for a slight softness in the knees and ragdoll style, leading with the back of your ribs. Restack, realign, knees over ankles, hips over knees, shoulders over hips. Let's roll it down from the parallel position for 5. Nod your chin to your chest, hollow out your belly, round out your back, peel down, and then back up. Look for that little contraction in your belly. Allow the contraction to peel you down. Then undo the contraction as you look for a tall, stacked position on the mat. One more to end off our SLEUTH practice for today. Restacking your body in one long, beautiful line. Bringing your hands together in front of your heart and taking a moment just to thank yourself for making time to come and play and work. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope that you enjoyed today's practice. Till next time, keep it light.